Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to my channel. Happy birthday to me. No. It is my birthday. My birthday is in like a couple of weeks. Chill. But it's my channel's birthday. It's turning 1 year old. Cause 1 year ago I posted my first 2 videos, which were Turing Machine, Arkham Horror the card game videos. So it's really more of a like happy birthday to me in quality of like the owner of the channel, but really taking credit for something that is not my birthday. It doesn't really matter. So to celebrate, we're gonna talk about my favorite top 5 solo games. But wait. This isn't just a random ranking thrown out there just to link something to the channel's birthday. At some point of my board gaming life, I have decided I just wanted to play more board games, but I couldn't just bother my friends every single day to play more and more games. So the answer to this problem was clear and obvious: solo board gaming. There was just a little tiny problem, a little detail: my brain. I really just couldn't motivate myself to just sit at a table and spend 1, 2, even 3 hours playing a game alone. It would just not be labeled as productive time for me, which kinda corresponds to a waste of time. I acknowledge it makes no sense whatsoever, but that's just how it works for me. So I had all of these amazing games, and just many of those with like amazing solo variants that would never get played just because my brain would not deem worthy enough to be played and be considered productive time. So how to fool the system? Making that time productive. Create videos, upload them on YouTube, and just have a reason to play solo that is not simply like pure enjoyment. So that's why I thought it would only be fair to wrap up my first year on YouTube with a game about my favorite solo games. No? Right? It's logical, right? So that's why I ranked every single game that I played on the channel for the past year and created a top 5, and we're gonna discuss about these games speaking purely from a solo gaming perspective. Some of these games can be amazing in multiplayer and not that amazing at solo, or vice versa, and that is why it's really important for me to sometimes just focus on the solo gaming experience and talk about that. If you want to know my favorite games of 2024 without this distinction, well, you're gonna find videos of that on my channel, 2 videos. In the first one, I talk about my top 10 new to me games of 2024, and you're gonna find the link showing right now at the top right corner of the screen. While in the second one, I have talked about the games that are already well loved, well known by me, and I replayed in 2024 and I just kept finding super amazing. And you're gonna find the link to this video also showing right now at the top right corner of the screen. The last thing I want to mention is that obviously, for the nature of this video, since I'm gonna talk about all the games that I played on my channel, you're gonna find playthroughs of these games on my channel. And I'm gonna leave you the links to these videos, to the playthroughs to these videos at the description below. Maybe you're curious to watch those playthroughs, you know? It's cool games. Now that all introductions have been made, let's get into it. Let's start with some honorable mentions. I want to shout out actually a whole category of games, which is all those like more or less heavy Euro games that include a very well studied and designed solo mode. I want to start by saying that designing and studying an automa, an AI that works with these kind of complex games is not something we should take for granted. But luckily, all the following games have it, and it feels amazing. The first 2 I want to talk about are some modern classics, and it's the Castles of Burgundy and the Terraforming Mars that I don't have here. And I think it's super cool that they have like some designated solo modes specifically designed for these games. For example, in the Castle of Burgundy you have to fill out a board completely in a set amount of rounds, while in Terraforming Mars you only have a certain amount of generations, I think they're called, around in that game, to terraform Mars, which means to bring Mars to a livable standard for human beings. So it's not just a score as much as you can kind of criteria, and I love that. So for example, I don't really like too much the Castles of Burgundy. I find the experience very stressful. I know for a lot of people it's kind of a relaxing game, but for me it's like super stressful. I get stressed out, I get nervous, I get very competitive. But the solo mode is kind of a nice puzzle. You're not competing against anybody to fulfill this objective. You're just like trying to do your best. It is still stressful because sometimes you really need some dice to roll a certain way, but at least there isn't that competitive kind of feeling for me, and I love it. It made this game enjoyable for me. There's also some others like more modern Euro-style board game, just like Dwellings of Eldervale that you can see up here, or Barrage, that have a very well designed AI and automata. I found the one in Barrage a little bit too complicated to understand, but I guess with the right experience, it's a brilliant design. So I just wanted to shout out these games that have a dedicated solo mode. There is another game that I wanted to mention, and it is Rolling Realms, because this game is a roll and write, and usually roller rights are particularly known for having as a solo mode some sort of like get the most points as you can and we're gonna give you a grade. But Rolling Realms has a solo integrated adventure inside that is honestly very fun. It's basically a sequence of 18 different puzzle games that are simulating some sort of mini golf course, and having this level of dedication just enhances the solo experience. Also, they came out with an expansion recently which is called Redux, which actually adds more realms, which are more mini games, but also it adds a completely new solo variant, which is also super fun. And it's very nice to see that level of commitment for solo players. So kudos to all of these games for having a great solo gaming experience integrated. But now it is time to start with our top 5. And before we start, I want to remind you that if you like this kind of content, if you like me chatting and yapping about games, but also if you like playthroughs, how to play, anything board game related, feel free to leave a like to this video and subscribe to my channel. I would be immensely grateful. I would appreciate it very, very much. A little birthday present for the channel, maybe. Perhaps. At position number 5 we find Arkham Horror the card game, a narrative-driven campaign game up to 4 players, which is probably my favorite game ever, or at least one of my favorite series of games, because I have 1, 2,
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
and many more boxes to come, don't worry, it's never ending, it's a never ending story. But then Alessandro, if you like this game so much, why is it only at position number 5? Well, I don't think that the true solo experience is the best form you can experience this game in. Let me explain briefly. During the game, each character, each investigator is gonna have a specific set of skills. Some skills are more useful to fight monsters, some others to evade monsters, some others to gather clues. And all of these things are probably equally important in the game, so playing the solo game means that you're gonna have to have an investigator that is equally good at doing almost all of these things. Which is kinda tough, like there's no investigator that is gonna be good at everything, because being good at everything means being bad at everything. Usually the investigators are a little bit more specialized and hardly ever they are flex on a lot of sides. So the solution to this would be to play like a multi-handed solo, which means you control multiple characters, but this is a very complex game. It has a lot of rules, a lot of details, a lot of phases, a lot of things that happen in each phase, and it can get overwhelming and chaotic when you start adding even more overhead because you're playing multiple characters at a time. So playing through solo just brings the game to a level of complexity that is higher than the multiplayer experience, and that is why probably this game is not highly recommended for solo only players. In my opinion, this is my opinion. Then there are thousands of people that enjoy this game solo, and I can't argue against it. That being said, I don't know any other game that offers this kind of immersive and completely absorbing experience just like Arkham Horror the card game. So if you're a solo gamer and you want a game that can give you this kind of experience, I still highly recommend to try it. Maybe play on easy mode if you find it too difficult, because it is kind of a difficult game, but try it. Also, despite being a campaign-driven game, the choices that you're gonna make throughout your campaign and the outcomes of the scenario, the fail-forward mechanisms, are gonna give you the possibility to replay the campaigns without ever feeling like you explored everything there was to know about it. Plus, let's be honest, there are so many campaigns, so much material, so many fan-made campaigns that honestly, getting to the bottom of this rabbit hole is very hard. What you saw is probably like 10% of the content that is out for this game. So this is what I think about Arkham Horror the card game. Let me know if you've tried this game, what do you think about it, and what is your favorite campaign. At position number 4 we have Sleeping Gods Primeval Peril, which is a story-driven exploration game. And I can't really show you frames of this game because, well, I sold it. Oh my god, liar, why do you say you love a game when you sold it? Yeah, but hear me out, hear me out. Sleeping Gods is a series of games that started with the original Sleeping Gods, and then we had 2 more versions come out, Sleeping Gods Primeval Peril and Sleeping Gods Distant Skies. Primeval Peril is some sort of baby version of a full campaign. The original Sleeping Gods and the Distant Skies are much longer campaigns. And that is why I chose to play this game, because it's some sort of baby version that can help you dip your toes into the world of Sleeping Gods, get acquainted with it, trying to understand if you actually like the game, and then maybe level up to Distant Skies. Or the original Sleeping Gods. So the only reason why I sold Sleeping Gods Primeval Peril is that I bought the bigger brother, Distant Skies, that I'm gonna play at some point on my channel, I promise. I have made not only one playthrough campaign of Sleeping Gods Primeval Peril, but actually 2, and this is telling you how much I like this game. But also I have to admit, after 2 campaigns, all the content is completely explored, there is nothing else to be found more. That being said, I think the Sleeping Gods franchise has been mostly designed for solo gaming, because the multiplayer experience really doesn't add anything to the game. You're basically just splitting characters between you and the other players, and it's just gonna add a little bit more rules overhead with the management of resources, management of weapons. Nothing really that changes the game, it just makes it a little bit more annoying to handle. The solo mode is definitely the best way to experience this game, and the reason why this game isn't higher, it is because it's really like not that much content, honestly. So it is definitely lacking replayability, that is something that I usually like a lot in games. But this game probably marks the most relaxing, fun, stress-free gaming experience I've ever had. You just go around the map, you explore here, there, you see what's going on, and yes, you occasionally run into monsters that you have to defeat. But it's not extremely stressful, you just need to sort out a little puzzle with your weapons and the damage to deal to the monsters, but it's still pretty chill. I'm super excited to see if Distant Skies can hold the same kind of pleasant experience I've had with Primeval Peril, and I'm pretty sure actually it is going to happen. But let me know if you have any feedback about Sleeping Gods, Primeval Peril, Distant Skies, or even the original version. At position number 3 we find Marvel Champions, another living card game where you're basically impersonating one of the Marvel heroes to go against some Marvel villains. You just gotta kill them, to death. I don't think killing to death makes sense, that's the definition of killing. I have to admit I've only played this game solo, I haven't played in multiplayer. I can see it played at like 2 players, but I don't think it is particularly fun or enjoyable at 3 or 4 players, just because it adds a lot of overhead during each turn and it just drags the turn very long. But I'm gonna limit myself and just talk about the solo gaming experience, which is probably the best one in my opinion. This is effectively a card game where you're basically managing your hand, because your hand is both the cards that you can play, but also the resources that you have to pay in order to play the cards that you want to play. So you basically pay the resource cost of each card by spending cards which represent resources. And that is fun because you need to compromise about which card you actually can play during your turn. You also need to manage your hero, allies, and decide who's going to attack, who's going to defend, who's going to thwart, which means just rolling back the timer of the game. Does anybody need healing? And so on. One of the most fun things about this game is also controlling the form of your hero, because your hero can be in hero form or alter ego form. When your hero is in hero form, it can attack, defend, thwart, when it is in alter ego form, it will be able to recover some health. But the form of your hero not only controls the actions that your hero can do, but also which card you can actually play. You can only play some cards in hero form or some other cards in alter ego form. But also it is going to dictate what the villain is gonna do during the villain phase. So a lot to think about, and you basically win if you defeat the villain, and the villain wins if they defeat you, or you run out of time basically. It is definitely replayable because each hero can be built with a different trait, so in a completely different way, but also each villain can be played in a standard mode or harder mode, and each villain's encounter deck can be built in a modular way to be harder, easier, or simply just different. And honestly, needless to say, there are thousands of expansions. It's just like endless. The Marvel universe is just so huge, they could make expansions until the end of time, honestly. It is definitely a more challenging game, but it's interesting because it forces you to think very hard about your turn and make the best out of it. Let me know if you tried this game, and who's your nemesis, that villain that you never seem to be able to beat. At position number 2 we find Welcome to the Moon, a competitive flip and write game that includes a campaign. This is one of the games of the Welcome to series, if you have ever played Welcome to or Welcome to Las Vegas, but this one is much better than the previous two. The campaign involves 8 different adventures, and each adventure is basically a standalone kind of game that feels pretty unique and distinct from all the others. And this game is lovely, and multiplayer, I think it's amazing, but I think that the solo experience is just mind-blowing. It's very well designed. I've mentioned it before, but I feel like a lot of flip and write, roll and write kind of games have these solo modes that are simply like, get a lot of points. For example, That's Pretty Clever, Railroad Ink Challenge, Paper Dungeons, and many others. Well, this one has a fully integrated AI that is simply just going to take their turns, score points, complete missions, and do their thing. How it works is that every turn you're gonna have to flip 3 cards, and each card has a number and a suit. Of these 3 cards, you will have to choose 2 cards. 1 card you will have to use it for their number, and 1 card you're gonna have to use it for their suit. And then you're gonna use that number-suit combination in your player board somewhere, somehow. Well then, what is Astra doing? Well, Astra is taking the 3rd card, the one that you didn't choose to take, and that card is gonna be out of the game and is gonna score a certain amount of victory points for Astra depending on the suit of the card. What is amazing is that Astra is not behaving every single time in the same way, because Astra is gonna get harder or easier as you progress in the campaign, depending if you're winning or losing. Every time you win an adventure against Astra, Astra gets more powerful. Every time you lose an adventure against Astra, it's gonna get weaker. So there is this super fun scaling factor where basically Astra is gonna evolve throughout the campaign, depending on your performance. The last thing I want to mention is that these 8 adventures can be tied into one single big campaign, as I mentioned before. But this campaign is not unique. You can play the base campaign that has no extra rules, but there are also other campaigns that introduce a different set of extra rules and different campaign unique components that are gonna change depending on the choices that you make throughout the campaign and how you're performing. There is basically 2 full decks of extra material, extra components, extra cards that can come up and be used in these campaigns. Sincerely amazing. I really hope you heard about this game, and if you didn't, please do me a favor, do yourself a favor, check it out and let me know what you think about it. We got to position number 1 already and we're about to reveal it. But before doing that, I want to remind you that in case you like this kind of content, in case you like board games, feel free to leave a like to this video and subscribe to my channel, and I would be immensely grateful. Thank you so much if you decided to do so. And at position number 1, we find the one and only Final Girl, which is a solo-only game where you're basically gonna go around, try and save victims, kill the killer, while the killer is actively trying to kill all the victims and killing you. How thematic, how thematic. These are heavy, so they're going back. They're going back to their place. Ah! They're falling! Go on! Okay, I don't like this sign. Better. Being Final Girl a solo-only game it's not like I can really talk about the differences between the multiplayer and solo experience, you know? It's the only way to experience it, really. So let me just talk about the game and what I like about it, really. Well, in this game, all the actions you perform are basically ruled by two things: playing an action card and rolling dice. And you can already see how there is like the strategic part of the game and the luck-driven part of the game. But how are they intertwined? Well, the strategic part of the game is really about playing the right action cards at the right time, but also managing your hand. Because then you're gonna have to roll dice, and depending on the successes got from how you roll the dice, you're gonna have better or worse outcomes. What if I have horrible luck? What am I supposed to do? Well, there's a way to mitigate the luck. Each die has 2 failures, 2 partial success and 2 successes. And the partial success can be converted into successes, discarding for each one of those 2 cards from your hand. See how your hand management can become your dice luck mitigation? Of course, there is still a big portion of luck involved, but if you're able to plan ahead, you might be able to get away with it. I think what I like the most about this game is how thematic it really is. This game comes in seasons, and each season comes with 5 feature films. And each film is inspired to a true killer of the horror movies. So every time you play, you're really gonna feel like you're part of a horror movie. You're the final girl having to save the day. And the killer starts quiet, but he starts getting more and more powerful the more he kills and stabs and drills and poisons and strangles and I don't know, all of that. I think YouTube is gonna censor this video, is it not? Is it not? Also, another thing I super like is that during your turn you have a certain amount of action cards that you can play during your turn, but you shouldn't play them all. Because cards most likely are gonna make you lose time, and time is very precious. Because time is what is going to allow you to buy more action cards for later turns. So you need to find a compromise between playing a lot of actions, do what you gotta do during your turn, but also keep in mind that you need to save some time to be able to purchase more action cards to be able to spend them in the next turn. And I swear there are some hilarious things that can happen during the game. For example, the final girl boyfriend can show up and he's very clingy. He's just gonna keep on following our final girl, and whenever he's in the space with the final girl, he's gonna make her lose time. Why do you need to make me waste time? I need it to kill and you just want affection. So the only solution for the final girl is either saving the boyfriend or letting him die by the hand of the killer. Or there could be a conspirator, a priest showing up, the police officer just patrolling around the board. It is just so thematic, it really tells a story, it is so fun. And most times it's just hilarious, but in a tragic comic way, because everything's going down bad. That's how it usually goes, it's a very hard game to win. So I love this game because it truly is immersive, but it also has a good balance between strategy and luck. As I said, each season has 5 feature films, and each film comes with a location and a killer. And all the killers and location can be mixed and matched to have every single time a different experience. Can you imagine Dr. Fright killing you in your sleep while you're roaming around the Carnival of Blood? And this allows for some replayability to keep the game fresh and fun. I actually have 5 solo playthroughs of this game, and you can find them at the description below or at the link showing right now at the top right corner of the screen. But yeah, this was my full ranking. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know what is your favorite solo game ever, because then I must try it, you know? Or maybe you agree with my choices. Maybe for once we are aligned. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're gonna stay with me for future videos. Did I just kick the microphone? And I hope you're gonna decide to subscribe, watch more of my videos, or even check out all the playthroughs I made at the description below. Once again, thank you very much. See you soon. Ciao ciao!